So one of the first things that we talked about when we met is how I hire people in the Philippines, and I know that you were pretty intrigued because you've got an awesome video studio. And when I told you that all my editing gets done in the Philippines, you were like, well, tell me about this. And so we're going to make a video together on why I hire people specifically in the Philippines. I want to say that when I say Philippines, I'm not talking about a foreign country or a third world or a developing country. I'm really talking just about the Philippines. So not India, not China, not Bangladesh. I've hired many people in those countries for projects, and there's great people in those countries. But specifically for outsourcing, the way that I'm going to share, when you want to hire a full-time employee, when you want to get the right price, that you can really bless their lives, and it's a blessing to us. So a lot of reasons why you need to hire people in the Philippines. That's why we're making this video. All right, check this out. This is when I went and visited my team for the first time last November. So I've been hiring in the Philippines for 9 years by this point. Never been there, never met them. And at the time I had 10 full-time employees. Now I have 14.
Wow.
But this is the group of 10. This is a fancy restaurant buffet that I took them to, and then we did an excursion the next night. So this guy right here, he's been with me 9.5 years.
And you've just met him.
Yeah, first time meeting him.
What an experience. Was it great?
So yeah, so the cool thing I love just about showing a photo like this is, one, they're just amazing people, but they're real people. Like when you hire someone in a foreign country, and you're dealing with them through a computer.
Yeah.
You can think of them like a robot, but this is my team.
Love it.
Okay, so now let's talk about why. Why did I hire them in the Philippines? One, from that picture, when I saw them, I'm like, you know what? It is cool that I've hired them all in the same place so that I can do that. There are a lot of islands in the Philippines, and a few of my team members, I flew into the Manila area so that we could all gather together. But imagine if I had them spread out all over the globe, something like that would be a lot harder. The Philippines has an amazing culture of honesty. You can really trust them with things and not have them steal it from you. Now there's exceptions to that, and you don't want to go crazy and do something that you feel uncomfortable with. I mean, it took me a year or so to really get comfortable with giving my team passwords to things, but my team has logins to my email, which they could have access to anything, and I've never been hurt by that.
Wow.
They have access to my Adobe accounts and my Dropbox accounts, and they really do manage everything. But I built trust with them over times, and they learned to trust me, I learned to trust them, and I did that in stages. Another point to this is that I was really worried about in the beginning. I was hesitant to share all my secrets and share everything, because I thought, well, if I train them how to do everything, what will stop them from becoming my competitor? Because that does happen in the USA.
Yes, it does.
And it happens when you hire people in India. Nothing against, I love people in India, I have so many good friends there. But for some reason, it doesn't happen in the Philippines. Another point that I've listed here is they're very loyal, but they aren't interested in becoming competition. They really love security, and they want to be a part of your company.
That's awesome. So they have integrity.
Yeah.
They're willing to support you in turn.
And and I've encouraged different entrepreneurial things. It's not that I'm opposed to that, but one thing that's extremely valuable is if I can dedicate a lot of training and attention to building somebody up that's on my team, I know that they're going to be with me for years and years to come. So I can really invest a lot in them. I can take time to go to the Philippines and meet with them and build the team and strengthen the team. And also, when people on my team are struggling, I can stick with them because I know that they've committed themselves so much to my company. Sorry.
Well, that's awesome. What a great support system.
Yeah. I'm really, really appreciative of my team. Their focus is to please me, to make me happy. And when I can recognize and just give them that recognition that, wow, you've really done a good job, I really appreciate your work, it goes a really long way. I mean, it does for anybody, but it's definitely a part that I've learned of the Filipino culture is they love getting that praise and knowing that they're appreciated, because what they're trying to do is please us. And if they feel like we're disappointed with them, they kind of do close up and get quiet. because they're like, oh, and in the beginning, I'd hire somebody and I'd have somebody go silent because they felt like, oh, I don't know how to do this, and I don't want to make him feel bad, so I'll just not say anything. It's kind of interesting to learn that, but once you learn that, I definitely see that as a strength, because they're very loyal. They're very intelligent people. All humans are, right? They're very highly educated. Anything that is related to the computer, they all have computers in their home. They all have internet access. They all have mobile devices. Even though I've learned that they don't appreciate it when we call them a third world country. So Filipinos love it when we call it a developing country or developing nation. And definitely, I mean, I've been there and I see a lot of progress and I see a lot of development, and I see that. And they have computers, they have technology. They will have power outages. Sometimes there's power shortages, and so they rotate, and we'll have different neighborhoods on timed power outages. They have hurricane seasons and typhoons and stuff like that you just got to plan for and understand that when their internet is out, it really is out. I was going to be so emotional in this video.
I love that you love them.
In the beginning, I had questions when they would tell me, oh, my power is out. Kind of like in America when we call in sick for work and we end up going hiking or go to Disneyland. I trust my team. My assistant Ringo sent me a photo of water up to his knees in his house. Their house flooded. Their neighborhood had supposedly the drainage and whatnot system had been fixed so it wouldn't flood again. And 5 years had gone by. They thought, we haven't had a flood again. Well, they flooded, and the problem hadn't been fixed. And they still had power and internet up on their second floor of their home. And he was still working. And when I saw the photo, I'm like, Ringo, how is this possible? How are you communicating with me? Is it battery power off your phone? Do you still have charge? And he's like, oh no, we have power on the second floor. Oh. And just working through, their house is flooded.
You're thinking, get downstairs and bucket that out.
Yeah. So, well, it's the whole water level outside and in. It's not that water came in, but it's just the whole neighborhood was under a couple feet of water. And so you have issues like that. But when my team tells me that they're out of power, I trust them because I know that it's real, and they really do good work for me. So it's really neat that it's such a strong culture of trust that I've been able to trust them like that.
So I wanted to ask if you have been able to train them to take criticism and
okay, and now them. My answer has come back. So the best way to hire somebody in the Philippines is not to hire them to do all these things I need to hire somebody to do SEO marketing for me. All right, you're my SEO person, go figure it out. Now you need to have a system in place. What does that mean? So if we're talking about hiring a video editor, what software are they going to use? And have you been editing videos before? Do you kind of have a benchmark? Can you show them this is how I want you to edit? And then when they edit a video, they'll send it back to you. And according to your instructions, it might be 80% of the way to what you ask them to do. And then you're like, okay, you did this right, you did this right, you did this right. On this part, if you could shorten that a little bit. Right here, we need some color correction. And right here, you did great on this, but on the ending, we actually want to use this audio clip. Okay, so you give them that feedback. They'll go back, they'll edit a second version, and you're gonna have to go through that several rounds. Okay, on the next episode, they're gonna do it maybe 85%. Okay. Episode after that, 87%. Sure. Episode after that, 92%. Eventually, it's worth putting in that time because eventually you send that to them and they know exactly what you want to your liking. They know your editing style. But you can't just hire a video editor and say, all right, I filmed some footage, here you go, edit it, because they don't know what you want. You've got to have clear instructions of what you want them to create. So let's just give another example of I've been hearing how effective marketing on Instagram is. I need to be posting and making memes on Instagram, so I'm going to hire an Instagram marketer. All right, have you done Instagram before? Okay, cool. All right, here's my logins. Do it.
Go to.
They're going to try, but then they're going to get, I don't know if I'm doing this right, and they're going to go quiet. Mm-hmm. But if you say, okay, every Monday I want you to create a graphic that looks like this. We're going to put a quote out, and then every Tuesday we're going to do this. And you're going to pull photos from here. Here's the Dropbox folder that has all these assets. And then when they do it, it's like, yeah, you did great on this one. Make the text a little bit bolder, a little bit larger font so that we can read it a little bit easier. So if you give them specific guidelines of what to do, they'll take their background and what they've done and known in the past. They'll take your input and they'll improve upon it. And eventually, you ask them to do this much, they'll figure it out and they'll go beyond it. But it takes that time.
I like that you've been able to see that progress in them and have measurable results each time. And I think that that's pretty typical what you'd expect with anybody. You train them to adapt your style so that you can outsource, right? So if they're able to do it, that's
totally
wonderful.
I mean, most people that start out hiring people in the Philippines are solopreneurs or small business owners, and they've not had the experience. I never did. I never hired an employee that I took through a training process and had a training manual and had a few days of hands-on training. These people are on the other side of the planet, and I send them a project and say, okay, go. And so they want that training. They want to really contribute. They want to serve, and they want to please you and do a good job. But they'll need that, we'll just call it hand-holding, not in any negative way, but
clarity.
They need that support. They need that. They need clarity and guidance, and they'll definitely become valuable assets. And I'll talk about Ringo again. I hired Ringo to do different tasks than he does now. And it's really cool that as he learned those tasks, did those tasks really well, I began seeing other strengths in him. And I was able to say, you know what? I've got another job that I think you might be a really good fit for, and we could have Angel take over this task. That's his sister. She works for me as well. And so I'm hesitant for saying their names on the video because I don't want people to come and poach them away. And so as I've learned their strengths and found that Ringo really did excel in other areas for me, and when his sister came and started doing this other task, she actually did it better than him, the task that he was doing before, but yet he was now excelling. It's just really cool to really get to know them and find their niche. And I've moved people around to find where they're better suited. It's really, really fun to be able to do that, to get to know their strengths well enough that not only can you train them and get them experience and growth in the company and become more and more valuable to the company, but then you can find a better niche. And
I think that's a great quality of a leader, though, too, to be able to figure out what they are good at and be willing to be flexible and put them in a new spot if necessary.
I count myself very, very blessed to have the team that I do, and just talking about Ringo, huge blessing, because he's a leader in my company too. He's helped me do that with other team members in finding, you know what, I think she would be better as a thumbnail designer if we had these two people switch positions, and it's really worked. Okay, this one is really cool. In the Philippines, you can hire people directly. You don't have to go through a service. A service typically will double or triple the price. So when I hire somebody in the Philippines, my typical starting amount is $450 per month for full-time work. And so, yeah, if I'm paying $1,400 or $1,500 US, that's still pretty cheap. But to know that, 2/3 of that is going to a company, a service. So that's why in a lot of places or a lot of agencies, you'll be paying a lot more than just hiring the person directly. So that's how I hire people in the Philippines. There's a website, virtual assistant tool. You can go and just find people directly. Okay, here's another cool one. The culture is actually very Americanized. And I don't mean that in any demeaning way, but they actually like Americans. Not too many countries around the world you can say that about. But they like Americans, and it's actually a cultural status symbol to work for an American boss.
Okay.
So them working for me, they can say, yeah, my boss is in America, and tell them about their job. I'm like, oh, wow, and it's kind of a fascinating thing to people to learn about.
So you feel a little bit like you're benefiting them as well and elevating their ability to have a career.
And a big question that comes up is language. English is taught in all the schools. English is a second language, but it's a very strong second. All the signage, when I went there, I was really impressed. Everything was in English. Everyone's taught English in school. And people have accents to different levels or not. If you some tasks you might want to check for that. In a future episode, I'll talk about how I have them apply, and I have them send a video to me, and they'll talk to me in English, and it's very understandable. Okay, this next one I hadn't thought of because I'm a man. But John, who taught me all about how to hire people in the Philippines, he mentioned that there's no problem for Filipinos for working for a female boss. There is that issue in some countries. There's just that prejudice or the sexism that's in their culture and how the position that women should be in. So this would be a great place for you to hire people because they have no problem.
I've experienced that in other countries, so that makes sense.
I appreciate hearing that feedback. You know, here's where it's a real blessing for them in the Philippines, because it's really hard to find a job, especially a job that is long-term and that doesn't require a commute. I actually made another episode, and I'll link to it right up there, because when I was there, I asked each of my team members, when we went on a hike to this volcano, and as we were hiking back down the trail, I just asked them each, do you think I'm taking advantage of you? Just be open. What is it like? Do you feel that I'm taking advantage of you because of, you know, how much I pay you and how much I'd have to pay people in the United States? And all of them, they responded in a very similar way. They used the word opportunity. I see this as a good opportunity. And they used the word blessing. So those are very similar. And then they talked about they're so glad that they don't have to commute.
Oh, because they can work from home.
Yeah, they work from home. They get to control their schedule. A couple of them were mothers and talked about how they could be a mom and work. The traffic is awful, I learned. The traffic is terrible, especially in Manila. So getting anywhere takes so much time. And you either have to pay for gas if you have a car, or you have to pay for public transportation, which is crazy. And just the time just to get somewhere. So it costs more, and it's the time.
Right.
So even if they, like one of my team members said, you know, if I got a job in the city, I could probably make a little bit more than what you're paying me. But I'm saving so much money for not having to commute, and the time, I definitely am much better off working from home.
Yeah, it outweighs in the end.
When I met my team for the first time, I was kind of nervous. Our first meeting was at that restaurant, and I thought, is this going to be awkward? Is people going to be sitting there like, oh, this is weird? But it was really neat. I actually felt really humbled, and I just felt all this warmth from them. I remember like half of them were there, half of them on this side, and I just felt like all this love. And I didn't expect that. I mean, I talk about influence. You know, that's what my career is. We build influencers for YouTubers and whatnot. But when I was in that setting with them, I just thought, man, I have a big influence over their lives, and they're showing me so much appreciation. One of my team members, the amount that I paid him, a little bit more than the $450. He'd worked for me for years, and I'd given him some raises. He was able, with that income, to put his brother through college. And I remember another story of a woman. She doesn't work for me anymore. She decided to dedicate herself full-time as a mom, as she had a couple children. But she worked for me for about, I'd say, 16 or 18 months. And as she was finishing her employment with me, she said, I just wanted to let you know, thank you so much for this job. My husband and I have been able to buy a house up on a hill, and we don't have to worry about flooding anymore, and it's all thanks to you and being able to have this consistent job. And I looked at, in her case, I believe I was paying her about $500 a month, and I was just like so touched.
Yeah.
And
that you can change their lives so simply while at the same time blessing yours.
Yeah, and I'm able to offer services. I'm able to do things in my company that are a great benefit to other businesses. I can create services at a very low cost with much higher profit margins. So I have a successful business offering services that wouldn't exist if it weren't for them, and to know that it is a blessing for them, I love it. And I think about, like, there's a lot of charitable causes, and some that I contribute to, and some that I felt guilty, like, well, how come I don't contribute to this and to this and this? And then I look at, wow, I have created a company that provides a livelihood for 14.
Yes.
I've got 14 employees in the Philippines that I'm paying their salaries, their livelihood for. I like that. I think it's pretty
rewarding.
Cool.
That is rewarding, and the irony of you wanting to have an impact on all these other lives, and these are the lives that you're impacting just by building businesses. And I think it will impact my life too. Yeah. I mean, this is a piece of the puzzle that I've been trying to find and put together for a long time. So for you to have figured that out and be sharing with me is awesome.
So I'm definitely excited to be able to share that with you.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully you found it helpful as well. To find more information about the website I use, I'll put a link below. It's virtualassistanttool.com. You can go and search, and there's like 200,000 Filipinos on there wanting to work for Americans. So you can narrow it down. It's really cool.
So great.
And in fact, I'm gonna demonstrate that in the next episode.